Welcome everybody to Dropping the Gloves. Thanks for joining us. Very exciting show. I say that a lot because it is exciting every time I get to come on the show, talk to everybody. But today's extra exciting. Another Hall of Famer joining us. Marian Hossa, on a worldwide book tour, decided to join us on the podcast. Marian, thanks for joining us. How are you?
John Scott, nice to see you. It's been a long time, but it's always nice to see your face.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is it really?
because on my phone, I have to tell you this right away. On my phone, when I go to the first pictures, there is you sitting on a bus, in the funny hat, and I always have a nice laugh, not because I'm laughing at you, but because I have always good time with you. So there's between the first picture is John Scott in my phone.
It's not a funny hat. It was a fashionable hat that you guys made fun of. It was a nice hat.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, so let's start there. When we played together, you guys ripped me all the time. You made fun of me constantly. You and Thomas Kopetsky all the time about my hat and about my breath. Why did
I think
Thomas,
the first one, not the breath.
Thomas would always give me fresh breath fresheners and toothbrushes and leave them in my stall because he always said I have stinky breath. Why were you guys so mean to me all the time, Marian?
You see, there was Thomas. You said it. That wasn't me. I was making fun of your head because I think you remind me one funny actor, from back home. So every time you put it on, remind me that movie, and I was keep laughing. So because that was not because of you, but because the whole situation.
All right. Another issue I have with you. You did an interview with Sportsnet.
Yes.
And they asked you a question about passers, about, NHL.
The worst passer. Who was the worst
Yeah,
passer?
I wasn't going to say the worst. What was your answer?
I was you, and I explained why. Because I said in a few days later, I'm going to have an interview with John Scott in his own podcast. So he's going to rip me and he's going to love it. But remember, there was one drill. I was using your stick. You had two sticks, right? One you were playing on a practice, and one we were passing the heavy, with the cue, we had passing the heavy wheel around.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a nice white tape, long tape around my blade, and I didn't want to, screw the tape. So, and there was long stick. And for this drill, I said, I'm going to use John Scott. He wasn't looking. So I grabbed your stick because that was perfect stick for the heavy, wheel. So I used that one, remember?
Then you screwed my tape up.
Yeah, but you didn't care.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, we got those out of the way. One thing is, all right, another thing. We talk about handling the puck. I thought I was really good at handling the puck. No, sorry, I shouldn't say handling, protecting the puck. And I was actually just having a conversation with somebody about this the other day where we used to do those drills where you get in the circle and you throw one puck in and you'd have to protect it from the other player. I could beat anybody in the NHL. I went up against anybody I played against or with, except for you, which was frustrating. You would always be able to keep the puck away from me and get the puck from me. And I could dominate anybody because I'm so big. I just hold it out there. Why were you so good at this? And I know this is random, Tim. I'm sorry I'm going off the agenda. Why were you so good? Because I would beat Jumbo when we do it. Joe Thornton. I could beat Taves and Kaner. I could beat Marian Gabrick, one of your good friends who I played with in Minnesota. What makes you so much different than everybody else for protecting the puck?
It's an easy answer.
Oh, you're so humble, Marian.
It is easy answer because I learned it from the best. I learned it from Pavel Datsyuk when I was in Detroit. He schooled me like a little boy on the beginning of the year. Then I got better. Then I started stealing pucks from him. And this game I learned from him. So he got me to the point where I was confident, handling the puck away from me, but stealing the other pucks or knocking them down. And maybe that's why. That was my answer. That was easy because Pavel Datsyuk taught me this game, and he was the best. I think he was master of protecting, stealing the pucks, and I learned it from the best.
Well, yeah, we know. Yeah, I get he's the best, but you can't just. What did he teach you that no one else knew? Because you were hands down. And I'll say this again. I've said this to Tim along the way. in my eyes, you were the best player I've played with. And I've said that
Wow.
on this podcast many, many times. I said you're the most underrated player. All those
You
Chicago
never told me
teams.
that.
Well, because you treat me like garbage. So why would I give you a compliment when you
That's
tell
not
me I'm
true.
ugly?
You know that's not true. But
And
wow, what a compliment! Thank you. I appreciate it. And you play with lots of great players,
I
so that
have,
means, yeah.
but
But yeah, like this game, and I love playing. I love played. I my English is terrible because I haven't been in North America 5 years. But I was in love to play that game after practice. And I
yeah,
remember with your long reach, big body, that was really tough to get to you. And I remember like you put like your after you win, you were like celebrating. Nobody could
yeah,
beat you, and
yeah,
it was fun to see because that was making fun after the practices with the guys, and we enjoyed the time.
yeah. It was. Well, let's get to the reason you're here. You're on your big book tour. I don't want to not talk about that. So let's get into it. It's called Hossa: My Journey from Trenchant to the Hall of Fame. Let's talk about that. Why? What inspired you? You've been out of the game for 5 years, like you just said. Have you been working on this for 5 years? Has it been a little pet project, or did someone approach you to write it? What's the why the book now?
Yeah. So yeah, nobody told me to write a book. It kind of there was some suggestions right after, like even during my career, like after the two losses and one win, right away there was somebody, start writing the book, that's perfect story. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I want to take my time, there is no time right now for that. I want to keep playing when I have my time is up, from the career. I can start thinking about it. And what make me to write a book, I think the main reason is like I think I had like a really good story to tell. Plus, I want to leave something behind me. My girls didn't remember much from me playing during the times, and I want to leave something when older they can read it and they can have say something like, this is our father, and so I'll leave some legacy behind me. And especially the little one right now born, she won't remember anything about Marian Hossa as a hockey player. My little ones maybe a little bit. So after she got older, when she started reading, and she's gonna be older to read that book, then she's can say, "Wow, this is my dad," and I wanna just leave something behind, some legacy for my kids to be proud of the dad.
Yeah, I want to ask about your process because I love writing too. Like, how easy was it for you? Was it challenging? And then were there certain parts or sections of your career where it was sort of difficult to relive and maybe hard to write about?
Yeah, definitely. I think the book took about 2 years to write. First, when I asked, my agent, like I told him, this is something I want to do. I think I'm ready. I want to, because I'm a pretty private person. I don't have open Instagrams or Facebooks. So I said maybe the fans, deserve to know a little bit about me more than just in the hockey world, but in the private world. So when I wanna kind of put it out in English, also in Slovak, but my goal was put it there like where I had the most success in Chicago, and we find out the company, the publisher, and we start searching for the writer, and that's how we got into it. And after the writer Scott was coming to Trenchin, to my hometown, we spent some time here. I flew once to Chicago, spent time there, and also like we've been Zoom calls so many times. So we work hard on it. I couldn't believe it when the Triumph, the publisher, told me it takes around a year and a half, 2 years to write a book. I was like, that long? Like, come on, we have to do it faster.
Mm-hmm.
And they were right. It takes some time. You wanna, you remember some things differently. Something came up, and you wanna write it about. So yeah, it took the 2 years.
So I've been reading it this week. I'm not done yet, but it's been a lot of fun, especially the chapter on Datsuk, like you mentioned. I'm not done yet, like I said. What chapter is John Scott in? Where can I find that? Where's the chapter about your favorite teammates?
Well, John Scott, I don't think is in a book because we weren't lucky enough to win the Stanley Cup together.
Yeah.
No, we weren't. We came close. It's a good book, Marian. I wrote a book too a long time ago, and I'm glad you had a good experience with it.
You did?
It's a good book. I like it.
You did write a book?
I did right after. See, I didn't want to write one. I was completely opposite. Someone approached me and they said, "Hey, here's a bunch of money. Do you want to write a book?" And I said, "Sure, I'll do it." And I had a ghostwriter, and he would send me little chapters, and I would be like, "I hate this. I don't like any of it. This doesn't sound like me." And so I ended up writing all of it myself, but it was just a chore and a pill. Yeah, I don't like my book. So if you got it, good. If you don't have it, don't buy it. So yeah, but yours is good. Yeah,
You are so honest. But I like to, because not many of my teammates have, written a book, So it's nice to have actually collection of your teammates who write the book, to have.
yeah. I'll get your address after this. I'll send you a book because it's not bad. You know what the hard part is with mine is I wrote it before, I wrote it right after hockey. And my
Okay.
life has changed so much after hockey. Like when I retired, I had 2 kids. Now I have 7, and I'm a completely different person,
Yeah.
and I talk about in the book things that I'm just embarrassed of. And I
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
want to write another book to say, hey, I'm different now
Yeah.
a little
This
bit.
this is me now, right?
Yeah, the change. And so I guess it's all right, but I talk about like my time in college and, pre my
Okay.
wife and everything. So me and my wife is
Yeah.
like, well,
You are
no.
too open?
Yeah, a little, and that's me. I don't hold anything back. I just
No,
let her
no, you
rip,
don't.
and
Yeah.
so I don't know. But yeah, let's talk about different things. The book is fantastic. You're going to go on this big tour. You just had your third kid. You were treated me like garbage in Chicago. You and Thomas Kopetsky,
That's
which
not right. I didn't.
no, why every time we go to dinner you would make me pay, and I was just poor on a 2-year contract, making nothing. And we would go to dinner, and Tim would say, "I forgot my wallet in the room, John. Do you want to pay?"
That's not true.
Never,
Come on.
never happened. Never happened. I
I will
said
say
this.
this.
I forget my wallet. I always have my
Was
wallet with me.
Here's an honest question though, because I was on the other side of it. Did you feel pressure when we would go out to dinner? Because we went out to dinner quite a bit. There was a group of us. When the bill would come, would you feel pressure to pay for guys like me who were only making 800, 900 grand?
No, you are rich compared to other people.
A guy, right? But in the table, I'm making. But honestly, though, was there pressure? Because I felt bad when someone would pick the check up. Did it go through your mind when Taser would be
Oh
there and you would be
yeah,
there and Kaner and be like, "Hey, are we going to buy this or let's split it 5 ways?" Or how does? I just want to know.
yeah, definitely. Sometimes it's cross your mind when there was like guys who were making, the minimum, I would say. Then there was like nice restaurants. So sometimes you pick the table and you pay for it. But obviously you don't do it all the time. And especially when there's like the guys like that, like not every time, but here and there, yes.
Or a guy would get called up and you'd want to buy him dinner or something.
Yeah, the worst thing when guy got called up and you play credit card game, right? You just feel bad. I hope this guy doesn't lose, right? And he's like, first, I want to play.
It's just, and Tim, you don't understand it. It's just a different. It's well, because when I got sent down to the AHL my last year, I was still making NHL money, and I felt like I had to buy dinner every time we went out because those guys were making 70 grand, 60 grand, and I would make that in a week. I'm like, I have to pay for dinner. So I'm
Yeah,
just wondering,
that's. I understand what you mean.
do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Okay. You should have bought me more dinners then. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, you're
No? All
funny.
right, moving on. Moving on. You just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Were you surprised it happened so fast? Were you caught off guard? Did you expect it to be first ballot Marian Hossa Hall of Famer?
Well, my agent told me like I could be one of those so many players to be selected right away in the first possible year, and I wasn't paying too much attention before because I was playing. There was like certain people saying I could be Hall of Famers. There's certain people who were saying, he's on borderline, maybe, and I didn't pay too much attention to that because, I learned in my life, certain things you cannot control. Just leave it, up to other people to control it. You cannot control your destiny. So that's what I did. And obviously because the skin problems, I have to retire from the hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure because my contract was still running. I thought, after the contract, it's going to take 4 years when they start
Yeah.
selecting. But I was wrong. After the last game, you could be. So obviously, I stopped playing a longer time ago. And the first chance I had, Lenny McDonald called me from Toronto and told me this excellent news, and I was blown away. And there was unbelievable phone call you never forget.
Is that the highlight of your career? Because the pictures behind you, 3-time Stanley Cup winner. You won a World Championships, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Never won a World Championships. Is that the
No,
highlight to win the Hall of Fame? Get that
I,
jacket,
I
get that call.
yeah, definitely. That's something. I think the highlight is the Stanley Cup. I think that's a highlight. Getting to the Hall of Fame, it's something you don't dream about. It just happened after they think your career is Hall of Fame career, and they pick you.
Yeah.
So I played hockey to win the Stanley Cup, and that was my goal always. And when Hall of Fame happened, obviously I was blown away because I was between those certain special people in that same category, and I couldn't believe it. I got selected right away. So that's amazing. But I wasn't playing hockey because to be in Hall of Fame, but to win the Stanley Cup.
So why Lidstrom to induct you? I know you played with him for 1 year. Yeah, that was a strange pick.
Uh, some way maybe if you think about it, because I wasn't sure how it is with the rules. I
Mm,
usually the plaque give you the person already in a Hall of Fame, right?
okay.
You can call somebody not being a Hall of Fame to give you the plug, right? So and I didn't play at a time with many Hall of Famers yet, So obviously Nick, I called him in Sweden and I told him, and he was actually planning to be in the States. So he said like, yeah, he would be honored. So that made my day because I know Nick from the 1 year in Detroit. Still keep in touch with him, and also Chelly was one of the other guys. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking, but I think year before or somebody told me he maybe not be there at the time. So that's why I picked also Nick. And I when I was playing in Detroit, we hang out with Nick. We went for dinners, so we had a great relationship, and he was type of mentor for me. How to handle myself after like tough losses. I was watching him carefully. How he handled the media, and he's like world class player on and off the ice.
I got one more. I know Tim wants to jump in here, but you mentioned that you learned from him. I watched your Chicklets interview, which was great, which I'm pissed off, by the way, that you got them. They got you first, but that's a whole other issue. You seem to be very aware and almost a student, not almost, you are a student of the game, aware maybe where you lacked because you're a tremendous hockey player. And you could have stayed in one spot your whole career, maybe. You bounced around a little bit and you made a decision to go to Detroit for 1 year. You left them a lot of money, a lot of years on the table to go to a team where you knew you could learn more. That's rare these days. Usually guys chase the money, they want security, they want the dollar bills in their bank, they want that. Was that hard? That has to be hard because for me security is number one, and I did you ever run that by your wife at the time, or maybe you weren't married at the time, but did you get anybody pushing you back saying, what are you doing, Marian? Because you're leaving all this money on the table to go for a gamble in Detroit just because you want to learn from these guys.
Yeah. So no, my wife just leave it up to me. Obviously, she was at the time back and forth flying because the university she was studying and
Mm-hmm.
doing final exams. So you know, we may talk a little, but she said like it's your world. You know what you're doing. So we didn't have a kids back then. So I said I knew basically I was good hockey player and I know I can be even better, and to maybe reach my maximum. I believe, that happen. But to do that, I cannot go somewhere like Edmonton, at the time offer me like big money. And yes, I could have a security, but I probably at the time would be not very happy because the team was in a rebuild at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I obviously I could stay with the Pittsburgh. They offered me 5 years play with the Sid. And tell you the truth, right now when I look back, I was like, what the hell I was thinking? Playing
Yeah.
with Sid, great young team. My one of the favorite players, Mario Lemieux, is the owner. Everything would be perfect, and I just had a vision, to learn from those guys who already make the peak. Why they so good? And obviously, there was great chance to win in that year, but that wasn't only my goal. Obviously, the goal was to win, but to learn from them. What's the recipe? How come they so good? How come they so good for a long time? Obviously, they have Mike Babcock. Obviously, I'm writing about Mike. Like he could be tough, certain ways, but he was one of the best coaches, if not the best, to prepare the team, and he was there too. And like the whole package, I was like, I need to be the team at least 1 year to learn what's the special about them.
So why didn't Babcock work in Toronto? Do you think?
Well, I'm also writing in a book. Like Mike was great to prepare the team, but I believe if in the long term he can trade the team also. Because of his style. I think he's excellent. The way he won the Olympics, he won the Stanley Cup. Obviously, he had so much success in National Hockey League. So don't get me wrong. Like he did something right. But I think he's great for a short period of time as a coach. I think when he coach you, it can go to the guys and drain them. And after, like, I don't think the team is gonna go uphill. I think they're
Yeah.
gonna go downhill. So that was my feeling, about Mike. But don't get me wrong, like he was excellent coach.
Was he? And I'm sorry, Tim. You want? I have one more. You had him, Babcock, and then you had Q, two Hall of Fame coaches back to back. They're completely different styles, I would imagine. Which
Yeah.
one do you think got the best out of you?
That's a very good question. Well, definitely on a beginning, Babs, he
Yeah.
knew how to push the buttons. But like I said, after a year, I was like, okay, I don't know if I could play any longer there. I think he was great, but after a while, I was like, whew, I'm happy I'm in Chicago, and
Yeah.
but then a Q, he is more players coach.
Yeah.
You can play for that coach for a long period of time, and you feel great. And but Babs knew how to push the buttons. He took everything from you basically. And Q, I think, was a great coach for long terms, and I think he was my favorite coach. Q.
All right,
Well,
Tim.
yeah, I got a couple. First, I'm sure you heard this a lot, but I love watching you play, and there's not a lot of like guys that have that level of skill who are still hustling as hard as you did on the back check and doing the little things and getting in lanes and it seems like when I'm reading the book and you're talking about adding those bits to your game, it's like, yeah, of course you would. Like that's what it takes to win. Why wouldn't you add those things? But I know that's not an easy thing for superstar players to do, to say, I'm going to be the first one back. I'm going to go in the corner. I'm going to get in front of a shot. It's a hard thing for those with guys of that caliber, especially it seems like in today's game. Why do you think it's such a hard adjustment for skill guys to round out their game the way that you did?
I learned from Detroit. That's what you need to do to win. Even like if you're talented as you are, even like if you're a superstar, because the other people watch you on your team, and if you don't do it as a star player, they're not gonna follow you. So they'll do exactly what you do, and then that things go downhill. So I believe as a star or superstar player, you have to be example for them, and that's what I learned in Detroit. The best player were best players, and that's why they had success.
Is that what you brought to Chicago? Because we've talked to Dave Boland, we talked to Taser, Kaner, all these guys, and they talk about how good of a team they had. And then when they got you, they're like, oh, we were not nearly doing what we should have done. Is that the main thing that you brought to Chicago, aside from all the goals, the assists, just your work ethic and what it takes to win night in and night out?
Well, I wasn't talking about to the guys much when I was playing. I think they
Yeah,
saw what I was doing, and I wasn't big talker like myself in the dressing
yeah.
room. I didn't say too many words. I like to joking around, as you know, and you were like one of the funniest guys I play with, so we had like lots of fun, and you made me laugh quite a bit. But I wasn't talking much in dressing room, and I was kind of trying to lead by example on the ice, and if I had like good feedback, like guys were learning something out of me, that make me happy.
Yeah, and you could tell it was a difference. Because even when I was there, and here's a question, maybe you won't want to answer it. In Chicago specifically, was it frustrating to see, and this is why I say you're the most underrated player, because you didn't get the accolades. On that team, there was so many stars. Was it ever frustrating to like front page of the paper, oh, Johnny, or okay, Sports Center, oh, it's Kaner, oh, okay, let's look at TSN, oh, it's Dunks, oh, it's Corey Crawford, oh, it's Antti Niemi. Was it frustrating, like, hey, fellas, I'm the one stirring the drink here. Why can I not get any ink? Or I know you're a private guy, but did it ever cross your mind, like, what about old Marian over here?
You know what? Like I was never looking things this way. I was star player maybe when I was in Atlanta. Me and Kobe have you know highlights. Even like Atlanta wasn't a big hockey market, but we were in like magazine media and stuff. There was me, Kobe, mostly times. But I had 100 points there in Atlanta, but I wanted to win. And when I come to Chicago, I saw what you're just saying. So many great players. I said like, I don't have to worry about the offense right now as much as I was, the key guy in Atlanta. I
Mm-hmm.
can, just work as possible, as hard as I can, like those Detroit guys like Draper, Kirk Malby, showed me in Detroit. And I can bring, obviously I love to score goals still, but I don't have to worry about the offensive potential about this team. So I try to, take, example of me playing good defensively. And even Q came up to me. I said, like, I love the way you play, and this is like the key for us. So the young players can watch you because if you hustle, they'll hustle. And I was like, wow, I never think about it totally this way. So when he told me that, and I try to do it game in, game out, not because he told me, but I love to do it anyway. But that even like helped me even more to play the right way, to be
Did
example
you
for these guys.
in Chicago? Did you ever have a say with Q on who you played with?
No, I was never that type of guy. He told me like the office is always open. One time, I think I went to his office when I just felt like he didn't play me enough. I just felt like I could play more, and we had like fair talk, and that was it. But I never picked like this is the guy I want to play with.
Who was the best? Gosh, you listed off all your teams, all your line mates. You've played with like who's who of hockey players. I'm sure you've been asked who's the best, but like who's the best pure passer you played with?
Well, yeah.
There's a
Overall,
lot. Who?
like I mean, like in any team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough question to just pick one because I had a really fun time when I played with Datsuk. He could make the place to the half empty net, so I had like lots of tap-ins. Obviously, with Sidney Crosby, I play only a short period of time, but playing with him, the points get easier. I tell you that, right?
Yeah.
Because like, and when I was in, playing with Taser or Kaner, those two guys, like, so all superstars. I think these four guys would be the easiest pick to say.
And on the other side of the coin, you're a defensive, like you say, you love the challenge of playing defense, you hustle. Who was the hardest guy to shut down?
Whew, hardest guy to shut down. Oh,
Hmm.
I think that was difficult when we play against Datsuk. Like
Is he
he's,
is he in the room with you? Is he making you say all these answers? Is Pavel in the room with you there, Marian?
no, but I think lots of defensemen told you this. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the biggest guy. He's doesn't have the hardest shot, But there is something about like his hockey IQ, stealing the pucks and like protecting the puck, but he can like surprise you with a big hit too.
Yeah.
So I think like all these things together, just creating him as one of the toughest guys to take the puck away from him and to play against him in any zones. Because I was writing in a book like when he's on the ice against you and you got a puck and you don't see him, that's not good.
I was saying he's similar to the Sedins, but just better. Like he does everything better, and I hated playing against the Sedins, but he's just better. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously great players. Sedins, they go into Hall of Fame. But that's not fair because they play with the earpieces in their helmets, right?
They did. All right, Tim, you got one.
Yeah, one more question for me. I'm not sure how closely you still follow the NHL, but are there any kids in the league right now that remind you of a young Marian Hossa?
That's a good question. Tell you the truth, like because I'm here in Europe, I don't watch too many NHL games anymore. But in the morning when I have a breakfast with the kids, I put my phone and I watch highlights. I obviously love to check the scores. And I got favorite players like McDavid, when he scores usually when he scores, it's highlight reels, right?
Yeah.
Or McKinnon from Colorado, that's a guy I like to watch. So there's a couple of guys I pick when they score. I definitely like want to see their goals. So, but young Marian Hossa, I don't know. Like, tell you the truth, I don't.
They don't make him like Haas, Tim. They really don't.
I'm sure there's somebody.
I don't know. I don't think there's many. All right. I had a question because we talk about your forwards you played with, but then I just was going down your career. I'm like, gosh, you played with some pretty good defensemen. You got Lidstrom, you got Chara, you got Bufflin, you got Letang, you got Keith, you got Siebes. There's probably many more. Which one of those guys is the best defenseman you've played with? Because that's an insane group just right there in itself.
Yeah, you told me to pick only one, right?
It's a tough, and if you don't want to, it's a tough question because they're all so great.
It is tough because I know the toughest time to play against the defenseman was Big Z in his prime, right? Because the reach, he doesn't care if I'm Slovakian, if I'm his neighbor from the street living on. I have a dinner with him at the night. You can pay for his dinner, and he's like nice, super nice human, like friendly teddy bear. But comes to on the ice, and he's not gonna give you inch, and he cross checks you, he play you hard, and he doesn't care if you Marian Hossa his neighbor. So definitely Big Z was really tough to play in his prime. And Nicholas Lindstrom, you mentioned him, such a smart, defenseman, and obviously with the dunks. But I played with him during his prime, right? So that's not fair to point because what I saw, what Duncan Keith can do, was fun to watch.
Which one? And I'm friends with Dustin Bufflin.
Oh.
How good was Buff in Atlanta? And could you see how dangerous he could be? Because that guy was an absolute animal. He was fast. He was physical. He had a laser for a shot. Could you see what he could be?
I was saying to everybody, if Dustin Bufflin works a little bit harder, he could be the best player in National Hockey League.
Yeah.
That guy, I love that guy. Like I have a fun with him every time I saw him, when I was playing with him, even against him, we were joking on the ice. I love his attitude. This guy was force. I tell you, like I never played with a more powerful guy than Dustin Bufflin. I love to watch him, and too bad, like, if he really wants to put another level, he would be dominating the league for years.
And I'm sorry, I have so many questions for you, Haas. It's so interesting. You talk about that with Yashin too, how he just was on a different level. And I've seen that throughout the years with players who just have unlimited potential. Does it drive you a little nuts? Because you're a hard worker. You're in the gym, you're working on your craft. You look like you're in shape to this day. Is it tough when you see somebody who just doesn't go all in? And you're like, you guys, like you have it. Does it frustrate you to see that even today?
I kind of feel a little bit bad for them because they could be so good. I wish I got that power like Big Buff have. Like I thought I was pretty powerful, but compared to him, like
Yeah.
I was like half of it. Like this guy was forced. We won in Vancouver because of him, because he took the series to another level. And I was like, wow, like this is animal, and I never see anything like that. If he wants to dominate, he dominates. So just fun guy to watch. And I just felt, sometimes bad, like like Alexei Yashin was such a talented player, and they don't, they cannot find another level, to be even greater. And that's I just feel like that's sometimes sad to see, right?
Did your brother have that work ethic that you had? That same like just dog on a bone, you never give up attitude?
Tough to say. My brother was a little bit different, similar size. He's maybe even bigger, but he got a great career. He played National Hockey League. He played in KHL. He won the 1 year scoring title in KHL. But I think maybe in his game it was missing a little more consistency.
All right, Tim, what are we doing?
Yeah, we'll do some rapid fire questions as we wrap up here. So I'm going to ask you 5 or 6 just quick questions and try to get the quick answer. What was your favorite subject in school?
How we say it in English? Oh,
Yeah.
when we were running, like definitely
Gym.
not maths. Yeah, gym. Yeah,
Gym class.
Yeah.
When we were running, he says.
Celebrity crush.
Angelina Jolie.
Yes. Who was your favorite line mate ever?
I have to say Crosby, Datsuk, and Taves Kane. These 4.
Thanks.
Cool. Matthews or McDavid?
I love Matthews, but I have to go with McDavid.
Yeah.
Who was the hardest defenseman to play against?
I think in his prime, Big Z.
Yeah. And then what was the best advice you ever got?
Again, how put it in English? It's gonna take a little time. I had a couple, but definitely like if you do something, just give it 100%. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to do it.
That's
I have a question too, because you've had just such a blessed career. I was looking at your draft class before you came on, and it's just an incredible draft class. I played with Jumbo and Patty Marlowe, still good friends of mine, both of them. Do you ever look back and go, "Gosh, I don't know how I landed in all these scenarios where I got to play with these incredible players, win 3 Stanley Cups, have this incredible career." And then you look at Jumbo and Patty, and they got no cups, and they played forever and searched for that. I don't know. Do you ever just wake up and go, "Holy cow, how am I here?" I have the Hoss Sports Complex. I have a 9-hole golf course. How is this my life? Do you ever just do that?
I know I'm blessed. I kind of pray every night before I go to bed, and thank for everything that happened to me, and for help my kids. But I just feel like in your life, if you go after something, there is like a good possibility to achieve things. Not every time it's gonna happen, but eventually, you got closer to those things, and good things will happen. Or somebody else to see you work hard, and there's other opportunities to come with from that. So I believe, if you work hard, if you're not one of those guys like, everything happening to me, and you feel sorry for yourself. Obviously, that's easy, right? But I'm sure if people work hard, it doesn't have to be in hockey. It could be in different areas. Somebody else will see it, and you can get another bump from that point, and you can get bigger and bigger. And you can rise. So everything happened for a reason, and I am blessed, and I thank God for everything. And I know I'm a lucky guy.
Do you think I could have done anything differently to be a better hockey player?
Well, you got 1 All-Star game, right?
What did you go to 5? Did you get 5 All-Star games?
I did, yeah, 5, yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
but
Did you ever win the MVP?
No, never.
Oh.
Gabi won it that year because I passed him for all the goals, right? But I remember yours. I remember yours. Who doesn't, right? That was legendary. I love
Oh,
that.
that's so funny. Well,
Yeah.
that's all, Marian. Unless you got anything else to say, I don't want to keep you any longer. Anything else you want to add? Any funny stories about playing with me? No.
Well, there was like lots. I always said like you were joking, like I abuse you. That's not true, right?
No, you were one of my good friends on Chicago. I liked you, I liked Kopi, and I liked Brian Bickle. Those are the guys
Yeah.
who I liked hanging around.
Okay,
So,
now I feel better. I was like a little afraid. Like, does he feel really this way, or he was joking?
no, I loved you. I was just busting your chops. No, you were one of the good ones. It was
Good.
fun. I think we went out to dinner quite a bit. It was a good. You were a good teammate. You were.
Yeah. I remember Kopi. We had a good laugh because every time we saw you, you reminded us the actor, and we had like good laugh. Not because we were laughing at you, but because the whole picture was funny.
Well, this is what would happen, Tim. I would walk by them and they would start giggling. I'm like, what are you laughing? And I thought they were laughing at me, but apparently they were laughing with me. I just wasn't laughing.
Let me check if if I'm not bullshitting. The picture. I have to go right in front, all the pictures, and there must be John Scott right away. First, hold on, where is the camera?
Let's see.
Picture on my phone. First picture. There is John Scott.
Nah. That is
right.
awesome.
I thought that was not first one, but it's actually first one. Right in first picture, that was year 2011. I think iPhone started putting pictures in 2011, and you are first in my phone.
They put that picture there, the one that you're supposed to see. It's the most important picture. You think it'd be your kids or your wife.
And here in the bus.
Beautiful.
I look so good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
So this is from the movie, Czech movie, and that's why we were laughing, because the head and your face from the side, it was exactly the actor.
That's funny. Well, good.
Yeah.
For everybody listening, Marian is a great teammate, great guy, and he's fantastic for coming on the show, Marian. Everybody go out and get his book. It's Hossa, My Journey from Trenchant to the Hall of Fame. Great book. Great guy. Thanks for joining us, Marian. Fantastic.